The studio lights were blazing. Cameras rolled. Millions watched live. And then, without warning, Greg Gutfeld leaned forward, his voice cutting through the noise like a knife. "Sunny, before you talk about integrity, maybe you should explain where the missing $450 million went." The audience gasped. Tyrus crossed his arms, his eyes fixed on Sunny Hostin. For the first time in her television career, she had no words. It was supposed to be a regular segment on The Five. The topic: accountability in politics. But what unfolded that night would shake daytime television to its core, and expose a web of secrets stretching far beyond the studio walls. Sunny Hostin, known for her sharp intellect and fiery opinions on The View, had arrived confident and calm. She believed no one could touch her credibility, or that of her husband, Emmanuel Hostin, a respected surgeon and businessman. But behind that polished smile hid a storm waiting to break. For weeks, whispers had circulated through the media world: a mysterious fund, strange offshore transfers, and a vanished $450 million investment tied to a series of failed hospital acquisitions. No one had proof. Until now. When the show began, everything seemed normal. Greg Gutfeld's humor filled the air, Tyrus threw in his witty jabs, and Sunny argued with her usual flair. But midway through, Greg's tone shifted. His smirk faded. He looked straight into the camera, papers in hand. "Sunny," he began, "you've often spoken about justice, ethics, and truth, right?" "Of course," Sunny replied, flashing her trademark grin. "Then tell me," Gutfeld continued, "how does your husband explain this?" He slid a file across the table. The camera zoomed in, exposing bold black letters: "Confidential, Federal Investigation, Hostin Holdings." The room fell silent. Tyrus added coldly, $450 million doesn't just disappear, Sunny. People lost their savings. Families lost their homes. For a brief moment, the confident TV star's mask cracked. Her hands trembled as she tried to defend herself. "This is absurd. My husband has done nothing wrong. These are lies." But Gutfeld wasn't done. He pressed a button on the table, and a video played on the big screen behind them, an undercover recording showing a financial advisor discussing the Hostin network and hidden accounts in the Cayman Islands. The audience gasped again. Some stood up, phones out, recording every second. Sunny's eyes filled with tears. She looked lost, betrayed, and trapped, live on national television. Backstage, producers panicked. The control room was chaos. They begged Gutfeld to cut to commercial, but he refused. "No," he said firmly, "people deserve the truth." Tyrus leaned in. "Sunny, you talk about transparency every day. Now's your moment. Tell America the truth." And for the first time, she did. Voice shaking, she admitted there were business complications her husband had kept from her. She claimed she didn't know about the offshore deals, the missing funds, or the secret investors. But the pain in her eyes said otherwise. Her world, the glamorous talk show sets, the fame, the fortune, was crumbling before millions. After the show, social media exploded. Hostin's scandal trended for days. Clips of Gutfeld's confrontation went viral, gaining tens of millions of views within hours. Some called it justice, others called it cruelty. But one thing was certain: it changed Sunny forever. Days later, she didn't show up on The View. Her seat sat empty, a reminder of what unchecked pride and secrets could destroy. Meanwhile, Gutfeld and Tyrus faced their own backlash. Some accused them of humiliation. Others praised them for courageously exposing corruption. But behind the noise, something deeper was happening. Weeks passed. Sunny disappeared from public life. The investigation into her husband's financial empire widened. And when the truth finally came out, it was even darker than anyone imagined. A network of shell companies, falsified hospital reports, and diverted charity funds, all leading back to one name: Emmanuel Hostin. He was arrested quietly one morning outside his Manhattan office. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted. Sunny watched from her apartment window, tears streaming down her face. Everything she'd built, her fame, her respect, her image, was gone in a heartbeat. But here's the twist no one expected. Months later, when Greg Gutfeld invited her back on the show, not to humiliate her, but to hear her side, Sunny agreed. That night, she walked onto the set with no makeup, no entourage, and no pre-written lines. She spoke from the heart. I lost everything, she said softly, but I found myself. When the cameras turned off and the headlines faded, I realized truth doesn't destroy us, lies do. My husband's choices were his, but my silence made me complicit. Today, I'm not here to defend my past, I'm here to own it. The audience, silent at first, slowly began to applaud. Even Gutfeld nodded, respect shining in his eyes. By the end of the segment, something beautiful had happened, not scandal, but redemption. Tyrus looked at her and said, "You know, sometimes the hardest truth saves us." Sunny smiled faintly. "It did," she replied. "The truth didn't set me free, it rebuilt me." And as the credits rolled, millions watching at home felt something shift inside. It wasn't about gossip anymore, it was about facing our own truth, before the world forces it out of us. Because sometimes, the real exposure doesn't happen on live TV. It happens in the silence afterward, when you finally decide who you really are. Moral: truth can break you, or it can rebuild you. But pretending will always destroy you first. Like, comment, and share this story if you believe that truth, no matter how painful, is the only path to real freedom.